Put your finger at the bottom of page 224, the very last sentence where it says Caleb Wallace. Make sure you're reading with a pen in hand. You're going to find strong evidence to see how the author contrasts Mr. Morrison's physical appearance, what he looks like, and his emotional state, how he's feeling. Bottom of 224, Caleb Wallace. Caleb Wallace gazed up at Mr. Morrison, then at the truck as if trying to comprehend the connection between the two. That truck in your way, boy? You gonna move it? I'll move it all right when I get good and ready. He stopped abruptly, his eyes bulging in a terrified stare as Mr. Morrison climbed down from the wagon. Mr. Morrison's long shadow fell over him, and for a breathless second, Mr. Morrison towered dangerously near him. I'm thinking right here the author is describing Mr. Morrison's physical appearance. He's towering dangerously. Towering. Towers are really big. That must mean Mr. Morrison is standing really tall, and that's making him look dangerous. I'm going to make a note in my margin here. You have 20 seconds to do that. Put your eyes back in where it says but. But as the fear grew white on Caleb Wallace's face, Mr. Morrison turned without a word and peered into the truck. "What's he looking for?" I whispered. "Probably a gun," said Stacy. Mr. Morrison circled the truck, studying it closely. Then he returned to its front, and bending at the knees with his back against the grill, he positioned his large hands beneath the bumper. Slowly, his muscles flexing tightly against his thin shirt and the sweat popping off his skin like oil on water, he lifted the truck in one fluid, powerful motion until the front was several inches off the ground and slowly walked it to the left of the road, where he set it down as gently as a sleeping child. Then he moved to the rear of the truck and repeated the feat. Caleb Wallace was mute. Christopher John, Little Man, and I stared open-mouthed, and even Stacy, who had witnessed Mr. Morrison's phenomenal strength before, gazed in wonder. If you haven't annotated anything, take 20 seconds and annotate something in the last 2 paragraphs where the author describes Mr. Morrison's physical appearance, what he looks like. Bottom of page 225. It took Caleb Wallace several minutes to regain his voice. We were far down the road, almost out of hearing, when his top of 226 frenzied cry of hate reached us. "One of these nights, you watch. I'm gonna come get you for what you've done. You just watch. One night real soon." When we reached home and told Mama and Papa and Big Ma what had happened, Mama said to Mr. Morrison, "I told you before I was afraid for you, and today, Caleb Wallace could have hurt you and the children." Mr. Morrison looked squarely into Mama's eyes. "Ms. Logan, Caleb Wallace is one of them folks who can't do nothing by himself. He got to have a lot of other folks backing him up, plus a loaded gun. And I knew there wasn't no gun, leastways not in the truck. I checked. But if you stay, he'll get somebody, and they'll try to take you like he said. Ms. Logan, don't ask me to go." Mama reached out, laying a slender hand on Mr. Morrison's. "Mr. Morrison, you're a part of us now. I don't want you to hurt because of us." Mr. Morrison lowered his eyes and looked around the room until his gaze rested on the boys. I ain't never had no children of my own. I think sometimes if I had, I'd have wanted a son and a daughter, just like you and Mr. Logan, and grandbabies like these babies of yours. But Mr. Morrison, the Wallaces... Mary, said Papa quietly, let it be. Mama looked at Papa, her lips still poised to speak, then said no more, but the worry lines remained creased upon her brow. Right now, look to the paragraph in the middle of the page that starts Mr. Morrison. Think about what Mr. Morrison is saying here and what that reveals or shows us about his emotional state, how he feels. As soon as you've made an annotation, flip right to your questions.